Just as I stopped there, I felt some pain in my leg, and I realised I've got a stick sticking out of my leg. What the hell? Ah, how deep is that? Oh, that doesn't look good at all. It's gone straight through my pants. Oh, I might have to leave that in there. Don't know how deep it is. Oh shit. I was wondering what was hurting me. Just better not get infected. Oh man. Oh, holy moly. That was in my leg. Fair income. Oh, show me that. Was that in my leg still? There you look, doctor, you've done well. Run at me, jeez. It's getting deep. Welcome everybody to my channel. Today I'm out in my backyard, I'm out in the field riding, and I'm going to be doing a Suzuki DRZ400E big bore kit review. No nonsense, no fuss, just straight to the point and all my thoughts about it. Before we get into it, I have finally upgraded my bike with a big bore kit. The reason being, if you've seen my videos or if you want to watch my videos, I had a major breakdown. I had some internal damage to the top end. So I thought, why not take the opportunity to do my very first performance upgrade and put a big bore kit on the bike. And so far, I'm loving it. In particular, I've used the Cylinder Works big bore kit, 434cc once it's all said and done. In Australia, that's about $1,100. So pretty good value, really, considering it comes with everything you need, a new piston, piston rings, and a whole new cylinder. The best bit about it is you just have to remove your cylinder, a bit of obviously stuffing around if you want to do it yourself, but the new one goes straight on. You can't even tell it's there. It looks exactly like the original one, and then you just put everything back together, and then you literally just ride away. There's also no tuning of the carburetor required if you've got the Aussie E version of the DRZ, and it literally just gets bolted on your bike and you can ride away. So how good is that? Another reason why I wanted to make this video is I went online to look myself, and there wasn't a whole heap out there in terms of comprehensive videos about the big bore kit. So I thought, why not make one myself? Why not do some tests? And I came up with a few things that I want to do today for this video. So number one is a fuel range test. The reason I've got the big bore kit is to see, does it keep my revs low enough at 100 and 110 kilometers an hour to give me more fuel return? And or does the extra power actually just chew a little bit more fuel regardless of my revs? So that's an interesting test I want to do. 0 to 100 kilometer test. It's going to be pretty rough, but I've got a little system in place. Do maybe 3 runs to get an average speed and maybe slow the footage down when I'm editing to get an accurate time for what the 0 to 100 is. 100 plus kilometer an hour on a highway. I'm not going to go all day long on the highway, but I just want to see what the revs feel like at that 110 kilometer hour mark, because in Australia that's effectively as fast as you can go anyway. I want to do a little hill climb test. There's a few hills out here. I just want to see if the gearing of 1544 with the extra power is now actually the ideal gearing for this bike, because I know normally I want it to be about a 1447, maybe a 1547, but ultimately 1544 is what you want for the long range stuff. So I want to see now if the 1544 could be my go-to gearing and I don't have to change it anymore, because I used to chop and change between gearing. And then finally, I want to do a bit of an overtaking test. I just want to go out there, get stuck behind some cars or trucks, and just see if snapping the throttle gets me in front of these vehicles much more safer and quicker than what the stock engine did, because that was always a massive hindrance when at speed. So there are all my tests. Let's not waste any more time. I want to get out in the bush and do the best I can to do a good solid review on this big bore kit, and then I'm going to come straight back here and give you my final thoughts. So for the fuel test, I want to be as accurate as I can considering the circumstances, but I've just filled up with fuel over here, and I do have the 20 litre Safari tank, and I get anywhere from 20 to 21 litres in that tank. And with the stock engine without the big bore kit, I can get anywhere from 380 to 420 kilometers of range if riding normal and not revving the tits off it, so to speak. So effectively I normally go by 100 kilometers for every 5 litres of fuel is the average. However, if I'm doing any big trips, I'll always only rely on that 70 kilometer mark without fuel, and anything beyond then I would always carry spare fuel just to be safe. But at home, I drained my tank. I put 2.5 litres in this side, 2.5 litres in the other side, because that's pretty realistic how the tank would be carrying fuel. I've marked it off, so there's a 5 litre mark equally for each side. Then at the bottom of this one, that is my 10 litre mark. At the bottom of this bit of tape, which is Gorilla Tape, it's the only stuff that stays on the tank, that is my 15 litre mark or thereabouts. And then to the top there is around that 20 litre mark. So a little bit of an indication of how I'm going, because I actually don't know what the fuel range is, so I'm going to be testing it myself. And I will be going about around that 300 plus kilometre mark without fuel stops today. So for you guys to make it accurate, more in relation to long distance riding, let's see how my marking goes and what sort of fuel range we get out of the big bore kit. Also, keeping in line with the long range fuel test for more adventure type riding, I will be doing around 350 kilometres today, give or take, and most of that, about 2/3, will be between 80 and 110 kilometres an hour, mostly being at 100 kilometres an hour though. Now I think that's important, because the whole idea of the big bore kit for me is not only to have a bit more power and a bit more fun obviously, but is to see by revving a little bit less at those speeds, obviously I'm getting better engine life, and engine wear and tear is going to be a bit more better off. However, is fuel range going to be slightly improved as a result? So I'm not sure if it's going to transpire to be like that, but it'll be interesting to test myself as well, and for you guys at home watching. I might just do a bit of a fuel check. I'm at 117 kilometres of all effectively 80 to 100, sometimes 110 kilometre an hour mark. We'll just level out the bike. And if my measurements are correct, I know this was a bit more than 5 litres because the tank holds a bit more than 20 litres. But according to this, it looks like I'm probably used under 5 litres so far. The fuel's up here. There's my next line here, so that's interesting, but we'll keep an eye on it. But so far, so good. So I've hit some dirt tracks now, and I think this is pretty realistic, because although this is not an outback desert road or whatnot, it is a decent fire trail. But by default, it keeps my speeds around that 40 to 80 kilometre mark for most of it. And I've just got to try the best I can is to not fang it everywhere and enjoy the extra power that I've got, because that's not realistic for long distance riding. So I think I've got about 60 to 80 kilometres of this sort of terrain, and I think that'll be really handy to give a true accurate test of the fuel usage of this bike without revving it like crazy, that is. Oh, bit of sand. Oh, Cape York, get your heart out. So I've just stopped to do a fuel check. I'm just shy of 200 kilometres. So theoretically, on average, halfway through my tank, I'm just shy of 80 kilometres of dirt. And looking at my tank, it's actually above the halfway line at this point in time. Too early to say if I'm using less fuel. Need to burn through all of this to get more of an accurate idea. I'd be pretty confident once I get to this line if I'm on track to have more fuel usage or less fuel usage than standard. But pretty impressive so far. We'll keep going. I'm just coming up to my third fuel check. I'm at 300 kilometres in total. That means I've done 100 kilometres of dirt, so around 40 to 60 kilometres an hour stuff. And that means I've also done 200 kilometres on the road. And from where I started, all of that has been around that 100 kilometres an hour mark. So theoretically, my fuel usage should be on my 5 litre marker, but I'll just pull over and have a look quickly. There's my 5 litre mark. I'm still up here. Wow, that's pretty good. So as it stands, I'm on track to do over 400 kilometres of fuel range. However, this can sometimes disappear very, very quickly because it gets so thin. But wow, I'm pretty happy with that. Look at that, not bad at all. So let's just stop here and we'll see what 350 kilometers looks like in fuel range. And I haven't been babying the bike. I've been riding as I would anywhere else. So let's have a look. Well, I'll tell you what, is it the same on the other side? Yes, it is. I tell you what, I am actually right on the 5 litre mark, and to be honest, that has absolutely taken me by surprise. That's phenomenal. So I've still got 100 kilometers of range, because I normally don't use this sort of section, I don't really count that. 100 kilometers of range left still, which would get me to 450 kilometers. Wow. I almost think I need to do a second test just to make sure that's accurate, but that's a much better improvement. 350 kilometers and I've got 5 liters left. If anyone rides one of these bikes and has this size safari tank, you'll know that's pretty bloody good, considering I've now got more power and a faster bike, but it revs a whole lot less, so by default I guess you're using less fuel. Oh, fantastic. I'm so glad I did that test. So there you go, everybody. So I'm going to give this hill a go. I've only tried this hill once and I had absolutely no chance of getting up it. Probably going to have the same situation today, but it's not about getting up the hill for me. I just want to feel what with the 1544 gearing, what first gear is like on such a hill, even if you were next to your bike sort of pushing it up bits and pieces. But it's more about, is the bike plenty capable now if you had the skill set in such a gearing? So let's give it a shot. I believe it's going to liven up the bike a lot more. There's so much more power, eh? That's ridiculous how much more power this bike has now. Oh shit. So no excuses, but I got here. I got much further than when I was last time I attempted this hill. I certainly can go all the way, but the top's just there and it's 35 degrees and I just don't want to be stuck here spinning it out and overheating my bike when I've got so much more riding to do. But 100% so far, first gear, it just feels like a dirt bike. It's actually probably got too much power and you want to be in second gear, and that's with running to 1544 gearing, so I'm so pumped about that. So definitely a thumbs up so far for first gear hill climbing with the new big bore kit on my bike. Unreal. So I've also just came across this hill, so with the 1544 gearing, first gear only, let's see how doable it is. Whew. Come on. So much power to the point where it just spins out so easily. But if you were one of those people who like to do the enduro stuff and you wanted a bike but you didn't have to muck around the gearing, however you still wanted to do adventure riding and make sure your bike's plenty capable, the extra power does make hill climbing a treat. So for my 0 to 100 km/h test, there's really no other reason to do this than to know my bike goes faster than before. There's really no carryover to adventure riding, but I've got a stretch of road here which I can go up and down a couple of times, very little traffic. It's 100 km/h speed limit, but I think the best way I can do this is get my stopwatch, press start, get in position on the 10-second mark, just go for it, and then hopefully visually get an eyeball of when I hit 100 km/h at the time, but I'll slow it down whilst editing and I'll also then write the time on the screen for you. Now this test is only going to be as accurate as me managing the throttle good and not letting the front wheel come up too much, if at all. But we'll give it a shot, bit of fun, and we'll see what Sally 2.0 with a big bore kit is all about. Alright, on the 10-second mark. Here we go. 10. Here we go, get a bit of a better one. 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. That one I think just went on 6 seconds. It's hard to see, but theoretically I should be able to do 100 km/h in gear 4. So why I'm going to gear 5 early I do not know, but I'm trying to look at this as I go, so it's throwing me off. Wait for 10 seconds. 8, 9, 10. Oh, that was under 6 seconds. I was still in the 5s then. I think it's fair to say, and I know it's not accurate, it's just a bit of fun, but I'm 100 kilos, so I'm pretty heavy as well. The bike's only a $8,000 bike when I bought it, with an 1100 upgrade now. But I think it's fair to say anywhere between 5 and 6 seconds would be achievable for the average rider. And I reckon if you had stiff suspension, the correct tyres, I do believe the engine will be capable of perhaps getting just under 5 seconds. But hey, who can confirm or deny that? I don't have the right equipment to say so. Here's another classic example of being stuck behind a vehicle. There's no area to overtake. I'm only going slow now, but every time we get to a position where you might be able to take, the vehicle's sped up and you're just kind of stuck behind them, but you don't have that available power just to snap the throttle and get around them. So here's my opportunity now. Because I've got the extra engine capacity, 4th gear at 100k, 5th gear, 110, absolutely no dramas. I'm now taking off to 120. So much more power, just go for it. Oh yes, that is awesome. One other massive benefit of the big bore kit is when you're on these hills and you've got a car or a truck or an RV in front of you, you just don't have that power to snap it in 5th gear. But now, when I pull my throttle down, the bike just gets up and goes, no worries at all. Whereas previously, I'd really have to work it hard to get going on the hill, especially when carrying some luggage. So I'm on a stretch of road where I'm doing 110 kilometers an hour and have been for some time. I've got this big 1000cc motorbike in front of me who just happened to be stopped at a roadwork sign, and I caught up to him. But more importantly, I'm doing this test because I sometimes ride in the outback on this bike all day long, and I mean literally hour after hour. This poor little engine just ticks over at 110 kilometers an hour. And in Australia, let's face it, that's effectively as fast as you can go in most places. But I want to know what the big bore kit does to my bike when I'm doing 110 all day long. Now I can only go by what it feels like with the revs and how the bike's vibrating underneath my body, so to speak. But I'm pretty confident in saying that I could now do about 120 or 125 kilometers an hour for the same amount of revs that what the stock engine does at 110 kilometers an hour. But in my opinion, if your revs are that much lower now at doing 110 kilometers an hour, you have a lot better engine wear, and theoretically you should have better fuel consumption. So I'm just hopping onto the freeway to do the last stretch of my trip, and I've been doing 100 to 110 kilometers an hour for about 250 kilometers of this ride, and I'm so glad I have, because the big bore kit truly comes into its own at these higher speeds, in a sense it gets those revs down. So I'm back here with Sheepskin Hut in the background. What an absolute day I've had. It's 35 degrees today, not ideal to be stuck on hills. However, let's just get straight into my final thoughts and my opinions of the big bore kit. Overall, it is absolutely a new bike. It puts a smile on my face. I probably should have done it a while ago, but end of the day, the bike was plenty capable to start with, but now it is truly a 2.0 version of Sally. The power is just different. The performance of the bike is just different. It really does tick a lot of boxes, in my opinion, to make this bike a much more worthy adventure bike. So there's my review. Hopefully I've done this video some justice and I've given you some pointers if you want to get your own big bore kit. My recommendations though, it is $1,100. If you are wanting to do it and you've got the spare cash, 100% go for it. You will not regret it. But do yourself a favor, do a few rides, get 1,000 or 2,000 kilometers under your belt first on the standard engine, because then when you upgrade it and you go through all this sort of terrain, you'll really feel the difference and what your money's gone towards. So don't just strap it on from day one. It's very easy to install, it's self-explanatory. If you don't have the mechanic aptitude to do it, I'm sure it won't cost too much for a store to install it for you. But anyway, that's the big bore kit, Suzuki DRZ400E. This is now Sally 2.0, but I tell you what, this video has been super hard to make. It's been hot, 35 degrees, it's super windy out here, potentially gonna be bushfires. My bike's been working hard in the heat, I've been working hard. So throw me a bone, subscribe, like, and comment. I'll try to get back to you where I can in relation to the comments. And from now on, I've got a bit more power than the standard DRZ400E. Awesome stuff.